Welcome back to the Webby O'Neill channel. Thanks for joining us for another video. We're going to be discussing Gareth Southgate in England. We're also going to take a look at Arne Slot and Erik Ten Hag. The rivalry between Manchester United fans and Liverpool fans will always be there, but there's a new rivalry in the dugout, so we're going to take a look at that later on in the video. First of all, Gareth Southgate, I want your first immediate thoughts on what's going on there.
Listen, last night everything was laid bare for everyone to see about Gareth Southgate and his management. I just look at it and think to myself, thank God. And I think many millions of Manchester United fans around the world will be thanking God that the rumours of him becoming Manchester United manager didn't come to fruition. I am so relieved. Everything out there tells you Gareth Southgate is a bad manager. Not just that game, the first game as well. And I am so relieved. It's a poor performance. I will get a job anywhere, never mind the Premier League, after what's going on there. Everything is wrong about that squad, the way they play, the style, everything. And he is clueless. I would not have been... I would have hoped that he would have come out and admitted he got everything wrong. And I think the press and everything, right, would have been different against him. Hold your hands up, Gareth. I got everything wrong. I'll turn it round. The players, I'm sorry, I got the tactics wrong and everything, but he didn't. What a poor manager. All he used was excuses.
Yeah, some contradictions as well from Harry Kane's comments and Southgate's comments in regards to pressing as a centre forward. But the big one for me is when he come out and actually said that they've got no natural replacement for Calvin Phillips, and I'll just play it for you here.
It is an experiment, and we know that we don't have a natural replacement for a Calvin Phillips, but we're trying some different things, and at the moment we're not flowing as we'd like, that's for sure.
I was actually alluding to Trent Alexander-Arnold being that experiment in midfield, but these experiments actually have been done before the Euros in the friendly games and the build-up to it.
The manager's had plenty of time to sort out who plays where and not experiment. That's poor management in a tournament where they're expected to win. He's got this team. He has said, everyone, the press, everyone is saying, this is a great bunch of players. And to start experimenting, but it's not just the experiments he's doing. He's playing people out of position and everything. It's atrocious management.
Shouldn't you be playing your best players, though? It goes for every football club, international. Your best players in the best position, the most natural. And he seems not to be doing that. Why experiment with Trent in midfield when you've got the likes of Kobe Mainoo? You've got Bellingham who can play as the 8. You've got even the young lad from Crystal Palace, Wharton, in there.
You don't experiment. You should know your side. You should know the style of play. You don't suddenly change it and hope that it'll work. You don't do that. And when he talks about Calvin Phillips there, we've not got a replacement. The people sat on the bench would be holding their heads thinking, what are you talking about? I'm here. I'm better than Calvin Phillips. Most midfield players what play for England are better than Calvin Phillips. Someone who couldn't even get in the City side. Someone who was poor when he went out on loan, right? The players must be pulling their hair out. I look at that England team and I think to myself, there is nothing there. There's no team bonding. There's no nothing. At the end of the game, they were on the floor. The manager has got such a tough job, but it's of his own making. And he should have come out and held his hands up and says, right, I know the task. I've got to turn it round. It's my fault. And he didn't do that. And I am so glad he is not coming to Manchester United, because he would have been a disaster. Because after this tournament, no matter what he achieves, if he gets out of the group, okay, he will be slaughtered by the press. And we know what the press do to every manager at Manchester United.
Yeah, the only one positive really is the fact that he actually got a point out of that. And, you know, with that performance, it was a slow, lethargic performance. And you're looking at Southgate even from the sidelines. You know, tactically, his changes as well when he brought the three on to replace the front three. You know, was that the right options when you've still got like Anthony Gordon Cole Palmer on the sides.
I don't even think it was a performance. I just seen stale football, not a clue or anything like that. And then I've got to go back here into like, if Southgate was being looked at, right, because there was no tactics there, no nothing. If he was being looked at by people inside Manchester United, right, I would love to have been a fly on the wall at them people looking at each other this morning and saying, do you know what? We don't know what we're talking about when it comes to football. So because to look at Southgate as the manager, right, because millions of Manchester United fans around the world, right, for the last couple of months have been screaming blue murder. My God, let's hope it's not Southgate. I can't stand the man. He doesn't know what he's doing. Well, it's been proven he doesn't know what he's doing.
The thing is, we've all got opinions on it, and I don't think any of us out there can get this wrong in our own opinions on the starting 11, worse than what Southgate's doing. And for me, I've got to have Declan Rice in the middle with Bellingham as the 8, Foden in that middle there as the number 10, and Anthony Gordon on the left-hand side, mate. And that would be a lot more balance to the team, especially on that left-hand side, whilst you've not got a fit left-back with a left foot. You know, that unbalances the side anyway. So at least stick someone out there who's more comfortable, natural on the left-hand side as well, who will get up and down and deliver balls into the box for Kane.
I think the way the managers set the team up and the personnel on the pitch, I think even the players clearly know it's not going to work. It's not being worked. The players must be frustrated that they're being played out of position. There is plenty of players there not playing in the right position, and the manager is bang out of order.
Something as well yesterday against Denmark. Actually, when you were saying about the players and the attitude, seeing body language there from players that as Manchester United fans, we've seen over the years when it's the last days of the manager.
Yes.
I actually seen it from a lot of the players, especially Harry Kane, Phil Foden, you know, great players and should be performing a lot better in this team. But I've seen body language there and a lack of effort at times from certain players where you think, seen this before at Manchester United and not long after, you know, the manager's out the door.
Yeah, true. I look at him there and he just looks like a dead man walking at the moment, and the only way he can turn it round is actually win the trophy. But I looked at the players, they were mentally shattered. They were on the floor, quite a few of them, after the game, and I thought to myself, they've gone at the game here. And I thought to myself, how's Southgate going to get these players up? He's not got the motivation. These players are just done as far as I'm concerned because you can see they don't trust the manager. And as you say, we've seen it many times before when players have turned round, right, and just looked at the manager and said, he's finished.
I'd just like to thank everyone for letting me know in the chat that my mic wasn't actually turned on. I've turned it on now, so hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully it's not been doing that since the start of the video. If it has done, just let us know, because I might even do another live stream, start another one up so you can hear the actual conversation. But yeah, you just finish off what you just said.
Yes, listen, Southgate's got a big job to do, and I don't think he's capable of doing it. Everything what you've seen about him as a manager, right? He hasn't got the motivational skills with these players because they don't believe in him. You can see that. They don't believe in his tactics, any style, the way the players are being picked. It does not work. He's finished as a manager, him, and I don't just mean for the England side. I mean for Premier League. How anyone can even consider him to be a Premier League manager, I'll never know. And the people, if inside Manchester United did look at him and were considering him, they should just look at themselves and hang their heads in shame.
You can all hear me now. Mic's back on. So thanks for letting me know in the chat. I actually thought I did turn it on. Or did you have that role of turning the mics on?
No, don't be blaming me.
I'm sure you turn these mics on. I do the one behind the camera, but he won't have it. I'll speak to him after the video. But yeah, we should talking about team morale as well. You know, with people sat on the bench. Like I said before, it is a positive that they actually got a point as well after the performance that they put in. So do you expect changes into the second game from Southgate into that midfield area, putting people more in the natural positions?
Trent Alexander's got to go. There's one, but the people on the bench, they must be all wanting to come on, and they've got a right to say, I want to be on there because that player's not done it. And a lot of them players haven't done it. There is no communication. There's no bonding, no nothing. It all needs freshening up. And it's just everything about the squad is poor. The attitude, everything. But what was most telling was the mental fatigue because they were clueless. on the pitch, and the manager did nothing to change it until late on, and it was poor.
The thing is, though, I noticed like after the first game, a lot of the media started going in at Phil Foden, directing, the poor performance all on him. The game yesterday against Denmark, I've noticed it a lot about Harry Kane as well, his work rate, etc., which he probably could have done more, let's face it. But I've not really seen anyone really come out and go at that actual tactical decision with Trent. I've seen Rio Ferdinand after the game sort of murmuring it, but they didn't really get into it as though they didn't really want to go down that route. It was more focus on like Harry Kane, what he wasn't doing.
If it was a Manchester United player, I could guarantee the press, the media and everything would be going at him.
If it was Kobbie Mainoo.
If it was Kobbie Mainoo or any other player, and if you go in the past, you've seen how the press, they just direct it and target Manchester United players. Why they've not targeted Trent Alexander, I do not know, okay? But if it was a Manchester United player, they'd be getting slaughtered, and the press are being a little bit soft and they're shying away from going at certain players. I just don't understand it, why Trent Alexander in the first place was put there. And like I go back to the beginning, and you said he's experimenting. Why is Gareth Southgate experimenting with Trent Alexander? And as you said at the beginning, he's had long enough to experiment with players. So that clearly shows you Gareth Southgate doesn't know what to do and how to set the team up in this competition because he's still experimenting.
Like I say, and I go back to like the body language, what I've seen from players against Denmark, and you actually look at it now, that mood around that squad won't be great. And I'm just thinking to myself, I don't want Kobbie Mainoo anywhere near that starting 11. I really, really don't. I think he should just better just to sit on the bench, try and get some experience from it, because if he goes into that team, it will then change the media focus on absolute negativity onto Kobbie.
I think what you have to look at,
keep him clear from that.
I think what you have to look at with Kobbie Mainoo is if they get out of the group, okay, which is not just possible, but it will happen. I'm just being like a little bit, down on him. But I think if Kobbie Mainoo goes into like the next stage, okay, out of this group stage, the football itself, the attitude and everything will change. And I think the dynamics of the football will change. So it might do Kobbie Mainoo okay, but I think to put him in the mood it is now, I think they just need to get out the group for someone like Kobbie to come in. But once he comes in, he stays in. So it'll be different football once they're out of the group because it'll be more sort of like attacking, and I think that'll suit Kobbie Mainoo. This football does not suit most of them players.
He did actually say after the game as well, Gareth Southgate, to achieve extraordinary things, you have to go through some difficult moments.
Yeah, you go through difficult moments. Well, he's just talking rubbish, okay? Because there was nothing good about that, and it wasn't difficult. The players, the talent, what was on there was good enough. It's all down to the manager, okay? And he's just using excuses. I look at it there, and I think to myself, no wonder Harry Maguire loves playing for England, and he gets plaudits for playing for England because he's at the back, and it just seems as though that's the way Southgate wants to play. Once England score, next thing you know, it's all retreat, and there's Harry at the back. He's covered. You've got players covering for Harry, and he excels in that environment, and no wonder.
A lot of the players are also, the highly paid stars, let's face it, for club and country, and they've got to take some responsibility themselves as well with some of the performances, some of the poor passing, just basic passing from some of them. I mean, Declan Rice, I don't think I've ever seen him play as bad as that.
Listen,
definitely not for Arsenal. And, if there's any West Ham fans, have you ever seen a worse performance from Declan Rice in a West Ham shirt? I've not.
I think what doesn't help the players...
He looked nervous. Yeah, he didn't look calm.
I think what it is with the players, they don't trust each other because they don't trust the system they're playing and some of the players they're playing with because it's not their regular player. You've got players playing out of position. It doesn't work right. Doesn't work right. You're frightened to death to come out of position, change the system. Because you don't trust each other and the players aren't communicating with each other. They don't trust the system, they don't trust the manager, and they certainly don't trust what's going on that pitch. That's why there's no communication, and that's why they all looked mentally shattered.
Yeah, Paul in the chat says, to be honest, the pitches are brutal. I'm glad no United players are playing for England, and them pitches did look brutal against Denmark, didn't it? That's just got ankle injuries written all over it as well, so they're lucky with that.
Yeah, you know, it's for both sides. It's no excuse for the style of football, but like for a player, when you talk about injuries, when they go away and that, you know, players just get injured from the silliest of things at times. But luckily, no one's come away injured. It was a poor pitch.
Yeah. Let's see how they get on in the final group game as well. Let's see if there's any changes, any improvements there. But going to go on to Erik ten Hag, Arne Slot. Like I said before, the rivalry between Liverpool and Man United fans will always be there. But there's going to be a new one in the dugout next season.
Well, you go on about change. Arne Slot's coming in. Klopp's gone. And I just think to myself, can he keep everyone together at Liverpool? And I don't just mean like the team. I mean the fans and everything, because the bar at Liverpool now is set higher, and Arne has a hard act to follow. He's coming behind Klopp. Klopp was very, very clever in what he did when he come to Liverpool. He didn't win anything for a couple of years, but what he did, he joked about with the media. He got on with the media. He got on with the supporters. He went round the city. He engaged with the supporters. He was always optimistic and everything. And he never really went at the press. And he kept the press on side, unlike what Erik ten Hag, he didn't engage and all that. So Arne, I think, will be very clever to copy some of what Klopp's done, because it will give him time. It will give Arne Slot time to adjust what's going on, because, you know, like the bar is set higher, okay, because Klopp has achieved so much. He's not coming behind a manager who hasn't won the league or won the Champions League or anything like that. Klopp came in and he had to get it done, but they gave him time, and he worked it right, that the press weren't on him and the fans weren't on him.
I think with any new managers going into a club as well, you know, the experienced players, what he's then took on. So you've got, like, let's say, Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah, etc. If they're on board with him, you know, they should get off to a flyer, really, with what they've got set-up-wise at Liverpool already. But I think if they're not on board with his instructions and the way he wants to play, you know, let's hope from a Man United point of view, you know, they have an absolute shocking season, but, you know, he's going in there. What do you think?
I think there'll be a lot of players there, especially experienced players, right, what might not adjust to what Arne Slot. It's the same with every manager, I think. Arne Slot's coming in and he'll have his own ideas, and there will be one or two faces pushed out, and there'll be one or two players thinking, well, I might not like this, and then late on you might just get like one or two of them putting in a transfer request or something like that. Yeah. That might happen because the manager is under pressure to keep it going. I mean, last year Liverpool finished in the Champions League, Carabao Cup. Well, Ten Hag achieved that in his first year. Yeah. So he has to keep that going because he's got the players there, what achieved it. So I think anything less, the press might turn on him if he doesn't use his head in the right way and deal with these players straight away. But players will fall out with the manager. It's inevitable, but he has to be strong. And I think the people behind him, they have to be strong. He has to be really clever. And one of the things he has to be for these Scousers is witty.
Yeah, he is indeed. Who do you think is more likely, though, to have the long-term success out of Arne Slot and Erik ten Hag, especially the way the two clubs are at the moment set up?
I think Erik ten Hag might have a chance at longevity here than Arne Slot, because at the end of the day, he's had 2 years already. He's had the major problems, whereas Arne Slot hasn't had the avalanche of problems, and I think that will come. I think that will come for Liverpool. The problems here, there and everywhere, and it's how he deals with it. He's coming from the Dutch league, just the same as Erik ten Hag has, and I think Erik ten Hag now has got the right people in place, right, to put aside the problems what are still there. A lot of the major problems have gone, but still a lot of work to be done. But I think the faith what everyone has in Erik ten Hag behind the scenes to work with him and to get things done is there, and I think he has a chance. He's got a young squad there, and everyone knows what style of football, what the tactics are going to be, and anyone who's had the nose put out of place because they've either been dropped, that's history now. There's players to come in and improve this team. So I think he has a better shot at it I think he's got a really, really tough job, but it's how he deals with it in the first 2 months.
A lot of people seem to think it's going to be Pep Guardiola's last season at Man City. So if he does go, you know, will we see like Liverpool and Man United proper challenging it, you know, for the next few years, you know, going for it at each other to win the Premier League? To think they've both got the managers to actually go and do that, because for me, you know, you take Guardiola out the league currently, and I've said it for a while, and I still stand by it, that I do think Unai Emery is then the best manager in the Premier League that's left. I think he is at the top there. So what can he do with Villa, especially with the funds that he can and can't be given there? Can he progress them, you know, to actually start trying to challenge for the Premier League? I'm not too sure yet.
Well, I look at Arne Slot, Erik ten Hag, they're from the Dutch league, they're both coaches. So it'd be interesting to see how far they can take United and Liverpool. You look at Pep Guardiola there. Is it his last year? How will that affect City? There are lots of things affecting City. We know that. So Pep hasn't signed a new contract. But at the end of the day, you do look and you say to yourself, well, after this year, who's the most experienced? And you're right, he is at Villa. He is a top manager. He knows all about Europe. He's turned Villa around. Whether he's given the funds or not, I don't know. But it's going to be difficult for, I think, when you see Liverpool, Man United, their managers, have they got it to go and overtake your Arsenal, your City? I don't think so. Not at this moment. I think it's going to take a couple of years. The experience, what will be left in the league. You've just got to look at Arsenal. Arteta, if he gets them going this year, which is a big if, a massive if, because the disappointment 2 years on the trot, I think might affect some players. And to be honest with you, some of them Arsenal players, I'm looking at them now in that England team, and Gareth Southgate don't know what to do with them because they are just not performing at all. So that might have an effect on them next year.
Yeah, you got to look at last season. Erik ten Hag done the double over Villa, all man away. But it's where you finish in the Premier League come the end of the season. But, you know, you look at ten Hag overall in his manager career, you know, 8 trophies he's won.
Yeah.
No, it's a lot of trophies, really, that, you know, since he's come in at Ajax as well. Was it 2017, roughly?
Yeah.
You know, up until now at Manchester United. So when he said after that FA Cup final, you know, if they don't want me here, I'll go somewhere else to win trophies. So you can understand where he's coming from. He's got it on his CV.
Yeah, he's got it on his CV. Arne Slot's got it on his CV, winning a championship over there. I'm not sure.
And a Dutch Cup as well.
Yeah, Dutch Cup as well. So at the end of the day, he's coming. He's got a reputation behind him. I just don't see Arne Slot getting the abuse Erik ten Hag has. Erik ten Hag has gone at the press. He's called them out, okay?
He was a lot more like forthright and a lot more bullish, wasn't he?
He had
after
to be.
That FA Cup final.
Well, listen, he had to be this year. He knew what was coming. Every game was coming at him. Will Arne Slot, if he suffers bad results in the first 2 years? But I think what it is, when you look at Liverpool, Arne Slot, if he's not performing and they're not getting in the Champions League and that, they don't need what Man United suffered. And that's a 7-0 drubbing by their fiercest rivals. Erik ten Hag has suffered because of that, and quite rightly so. That has to be turned round going forward. Arne Slot has to avoid that, play well, get the team going, and try and challenge. And I think if he does that and avoids a few pitfalls with massive confidence results, defeats like the 7-0 we suffered, I think he might just get through there, get through that tricky period. But Erik ten Hag, yes, Carabao Cup, top 4, but my God, he didn't half suffer some bad defeats.
Yeah, you look at Erik ten Hag's first season, we got beat by Brighton and Brentford. And then our third game, it was Liverpool here at home, wasn't it? And we ended up getting the win. Yeah. And I always remember that week, he was the only one who was really positive about United winning that game. And we face them here as well, don't we? At the end of August, Liverpool, which will be a great one. I'm looking forward to it already. Yeah,
well, that's going to be interesting because I think it's the third game into the season. So it'll be interesting bringing these two managers together. It'll be interesting to see how Erik ten Hag copes with the press and the pressure with what he's suffered. He's now the manager. Everything's been put aside now. Look, we put that away. So let's see how he develops this side, if he gets some players in. And you've also got to look at Arne Slot. Is he going to bring players in? Is he going to change the style? So it's going to be very interesting to see two teams, okay, what need to perform, go at it. And will they go at it, or will they just play it cagey? So it's going to be very interesting in that first 4 weeks of the Premier League starting to see how these two go, whether they can, the style of football, everything about it, challenge for places. And I'm not saying challenging for the league. You know, they've got to be able to be, they've got to be seen to be able to compete. So at the end of the day, we'll see then.
Yeah, I'd just like to finish it there. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today, getting involved in the chat. Get your own opinions in and what we've discussed today in the comments below. Apologies for earlier on about the mic situation. Got it back on later on in the video. But I'd just like to thank everyone for sticking with us till the end. We'll be back on Monday with another Manchester United chat. So enjoy your weekend. Get that notification on and we'll see you on Monday. Much love, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you.